All right, Jason. Welcome back to the Dark Waters. How are you?
Not bad. Yourself?
Good, man. Good. We had a pretty good weekend, didn't we?
Hey, man, I'm not going to complain. I'm going to tell you that. And, I already told you, privately, man, your check was my favorite one to be able to hand out, man.
Well, I mean, I know I still owe you beer, but I mean, I can't complain. Like, I had a great day.
Yeah. I mean, and it was funny because I hadn't fished in weeks, right? And just hadn't been out. I lost that kayak off the trailer and heading to my first local event. So I don't think I had fished a live event since February. And, we got up to New York and I was telling Ken and the other guys in the cabin, I was like, man, heading into pre fishing, I was like, I'm going to smash him. And the guys were laughing. I was like, no, like, I really feel like I'm going to. And, went out there and had a real good session pre fishing. And, we kind of messed around for a little bit for probably 45 minutes. And then I went to the spot I really wanted to fish. And I think I cast maybe 6 or 7 times, caught 5 fish, put up like 90 inches. And I was telling my buddy, I was like, we got to get the hell out of here. And,
Yeah.
we were off the water by 9 o'clock.
That's funny that happened to me because me and Greg we met up the like that Thursday. We meet him I met him for the first time. We were gonna go do some practice, and we went down to this creek. I'm like, I just want to check it out. And like the water temps were really cold in the lake. And then when I got to the creek, I'm like, oh man, this is like 53, 54, 55. And like first cast, like a 19 and a half. I'm like, huh. And then Greg comes in, he sees me like doing my little selfie. I'm like, oh shit. And so like we go a little further down. I catch another one, about 16 inches. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And then bam, I caught another one, 20 and a half inches. And I'm like, Greg, we got to get the fuck out of here, dude. This is
Yeah.
too good. This is, and so like on the way back, I catch one more small one. I'm like, Greg, we got to get out of here. And then we got out there and then we started catching fish on the flats. I'm like, dude, we're like, I look at Greg. I'm like, look, man, I think I'm done. He's like, yeah, what do you want to do? I'm like, I think I'm gonna go home early and hang out with the wife. She's gonna be surprised. But it was weird because like she gave me permission to hang out all day because I was like fanboying out. I'm like, babe, it's
Yeah.
Greg Blanchard. I gotta hang out with him. And she's like, yeah, fish all day. And like I'm home by like we're off the water by 9. I'm home by like 10. We have lunch and like just have a great family day or something like that. It was like I went into like Saturday like feeling pretty pumped. But I'll tell you what,
Yeah.
it changed on me though because like it rained like the
Yeah.
2 day. It rained all night Friday night, most of early Saturday morning. When I got to my spot, it was cold. Like the water, now the creek was colder than the main lake, so my bite was completely gone. And I'm like, well, shit. So like for the first hour and a half, I'm like trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. I go back to the flat. I went back to the creek to see whatever. And then like finally I caught one. I'm like, all right, let's see what happens here. On those flats. And then I caught another one. I'm like, all right, I got something here. And I went a little more shallow. And I went from me having like one or two fish to having like a limit, like 86 inches. And like literally like 15 minutes I had 86 inches. And then like maybe 10 minutes after that, I let the first one hit 90 inches. I'm like, well, shit, man, I'm onto something here.
Yeah, my day was something similar. Like, I was fishing a flat area, when I was pre-fishing, and I went back to it, but I figured the rain, if anything, it would cool it down, like what you said, and it didn't. But I was planning on it, so I thought they might move a little bit deeper. So, when I got out there, you know, I didn't catch a fish for like the first 45 minutes. I landed a good, it was, I don't know, 16 and three quarter. Um, and then an hour later, I got another bite, and 45 minutes later, I had another bite, but it was all quality fish. And,
Yeah.
and I got stuck on 4 fish for a while, man. And I kind of left that flat a little bit, went to another spot, and I told myself, hey, I know better. Like, you don't leave fish to find fish. So I
Yeah.
went back and I was able to find a small, like 13-inch just to fill a limit. And and I was watching the leaderboard a little bit, right? And I knew I was, even though my limit was semi small, that 13 gave me an easy call, and I was sitting, I think, right behind you at the time at a 1/4 inch, and sitting in third. And then I happened to stumble on a 17 and three quarter, so I called out, and a 17 and a quarter, called out again. And I was sitting at 92 and a quarter, and then I think you were at 92, so I was like, man, I'm gonna get that 6 pack.
Yeah.
And I
And then
look
I
I
passed you.
looked, yeah. And then I look and you're at 16 and a half. I was like, man, this is such a hard call, right? Just trying to find like bigger fish. And so like I actually went deeper, like a spot on this flat where even though there was a bunch of people there, no one had touched. And about 20 minutes in, man, I caught the biggest fish of the day. I caught a 20 and a quarter. And, that 20 and a quarter put me at 95 inches. At that point, I was pretty confident that I could at least hold on to second. although
Yeah.
I didn't know if people were sandbagging. And but man, I really thought I was going to catch Joe. You know, Joe was sitting at 95 and a quarter, hadn't called forever. The leaderboard went down, and at that point, I was still fishing that deeper area that no one had fished, and I kept catching fish. I think I caught four more fish in the last hour, but none of them could call that 17 and a quarter to get me that. I really needed a half inch because Joe had the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, I can't complain at 95-inch day and a second place finish. I mean,
Well,
it blew away my expectations.
Well, I think only a few of us like figured out like what the lake was about. I don't mean that like cocky or like arrogant, but like like I was fishing around, Ken Wood, Greg
Yeah,
Blanchard, uh, you know, Moulton, a stick around here. Like he knows how
yep,
to fish Cayuga Lake, and like I had all these people around me, and not all, but I had like four really really good anglers, and I was like the only one out there like really smashing them.
yeah,
But one of the things is like besides that, when I found like my limit really quick, after that, like all day was a fish here, a fish
yeah,
there. But the thing
yep,
about it though, I was like you, I had to like force myself like don't leave this spot no matter how scared you get. There was a
right,
time I went like an hour and a half without catching a fish, and that's when I passed you.
yeah,
You know what I mean? It's just like stay here. They're here. You can leave here and you might find them, but there's not going to be any better here. Like it's either going to be the same or worse. And I think what a lot of people got confused because there were such monsters out there. They thought they were going to catch fish all day. They didn't realize it was
right,
going to be like. They didn't realize the bite was tougher than what it was. Like
yeah.
and that's
I
what I thought that like one of the things that like I really did. Like I stayed in that spot. I fished. I took a chatterbait. I fished it very slow. I
yeah,
let it touch the grass and it kind of slightly bounced it out. And then I was catching quality fish, but I was catching them like here and there sporadically through all the day. When like most people, I think I think they were surprised with like how long it took to really catch a fish or how long. Because the bite wasn't like it wasn't a fire bite, but
oh, you're right.
those fish we caught though. Every fish I caught was a monster.
Yeah,
It was fat, healthy. I don't know if you would call it early pre-spawn but I mean, like
yeah, they
the
were
water.
fattening up. They were
Yeah,
fattening up, getting ready, and it was the same place, man, where I was fishing. I mean, there were, I mean, because there was that bass boat tournament there, right? And I was on that flat, like even though I was in a good spot, man. You know, there were people everywhere. I mean, there were. I think there were at one point, and I was off the trestle, like I was around that area, right, north end, but I wasn't really on the trestle. I was in sight of it. Let's put it that way. And I mean, there'd be like 14 people with bass boats on that trestle, and here I am just catching fish and near the leaderboard, and I almost stopped. Near the top, I almost stopped submitting my fish because I was afraid people would see that and leave their
yeah,
spot and come in. And I was like, man, sitting at 92 inches, how can I really wasn't sure if I would call anymore, right? So I was like, there's so much of an area out here that I can keep moving deeper if people come in, but man, no one came anywhere near me, and I
no,
was surprised. And like I said, there were a lot of good anglers, that were launching where I was, and like I said, I was happy no one kind of really got too close and encroached, and I'd watch somebody glide through an area and I'd go right behind him, and I was doing the same thing. I mean, it's no secret I throw a lot of jackhammers, and I was throwing a jackhammer, and I mean, you talk about slow rolling it. I mean, it was
yeah.
I couldn't reel it any slower, right? And
Right. That's
I
exactly
had
what I
a
did.
yeah, I had a green pumpkin one with a green pumpkin paddle tail on the back, and I would just slowly. I mean, it was painful,
Yeah,
reeling that slow, but that was the only way I could get the bite, and
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I
And I think that's exactly what I did. Like, I would go right in the middle where the grass started. I would cast past the
yeah,
grass, and I would just slow. I mean, like slow, and like once I felt like a little tug, I'd pop it a little bit,
yeah,
and then eventually you would feel you would think it's grass,
yeah,
but then you would go like us, and then you'd be like, well, it's not popping. And then it's like,
yeah,
and then I'd have them on, but it's like you said, because like I caught my limit right in front. I felt really bad for this guy. He's really cool because like I caught my limit right in front of him, and like I was excited because like that put me up in like second place, and I'm like, holy shit. I went from like not knowing what I was going to do to being like a second place, and like I caught it right in front of this guy, and like I'm hollering, I'm screaming, I'm like, whoa, like 'cause I've never had been in that situation, and like he's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, it's like I don't know, I'm just fishing. He's like, all right, well you're gonna stay in this spot. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna fish this whole area right there, and he went down the flat some. And I don't think he caught a fish all day, but like that whole time I was just going back and forth up
yeah,
that flat. I would see Kim Wood, I'd see all
yep,
these guys, and they were you could tell they were all just like spinning, like trying to figure it out.
right,
And I was so scared too because I'm like, these guys are gonna realize what I'm doing. And those guys, you don't want Kim Wood to know what you're doing.
Right.
I mean,
Hey,
he's not cheating, but if he knows that I'm catching fish on the flat, he's going to go to the other side of the flat and
yeah.
catch fish. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, and it was funny because I traveled with Adam Rourke, right? He's a buddy of mine, and we were fishing that. I mean, like, I can't tell you the size of this flat. I mean, it's enormous, right? So you can see people everywhere. I mean, you could probably had 50 people on this flat and not been too close to one another. And Adam and I were at different ends, but we were kind of fishing towards each other. And I was at the point where like I was looking for that last call, and we got to at one point where we were probably like 20 yards away, and I was just getting ready to turn around because I was like, you could tell we were both getting ready to turn around because we didn't want to get too close to one another. And he pulled a 19 out like right in front of me, and he's like, "Man, I can't even feel good about that," because he knew where I was in the tournament. I was like, "Screw that, man! Catch fish! Like
Catch fish,
you go
yeah.
for it! Like don't feel bad for that. Just because you caught it doesn't mean I would have, right?" But we had fished so far away from each other. We just happened to be going in the same direction, and then I went back my way, he went back his way, and we just kept, like you said, you start at one end and you just kind of float down, and it was incredible, and I couldn't get over how timid the bite was, right? Like you were describing, like it wasn't a normal, like I kept thinking back on it once I figured out the bite, like if I missed any fish, because like you
Yeah.
said, you'd feel it sometimes, and it would be you'd think you were in the grass and you'd pop it out.
Yep.
And sometimes you're like, I think that's actually a fish, and you'd set the hook. And I can't tell you how many times I set the hook on grass because it felt like the bite.
Yeah.
And I also wonder how many times that I felt it was grass and I lost a bite.
Well, I'm almost positive that happened to me because I mean, like you just get used to feeling like it took me for a while to realize that how that bite was going, but like I had to have missed fish because I mean you feel it, you're like, oh, that felt like a bite. If it felt like a bite, it probably was a bite. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's how I feel like. And I switched it up this year because I used to use when I was doing my chatterbait, I used to use a heavier rod,
Yep.
like a medium heavy fast action. And then
Yep.
I went down to a medium heavy, whatever, like a slower action. And so it's supposed to be more sensitive, but it doesn't have that like
Right.
that boom 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 type feeling. It's like
Right.
it kind of flows with it. So it's like, I mean, I would literally just be like, because I wouldn't rip it through the grass. I would kind of just like
Twitch it.
pop it,
Yeah.
and then like I look at my rod, I realize that that shit's still bent. Oh, and then I realized that I'd had them, but it was that sort of a bite.
Right.
And like you just, I mean, like, I wish I would have had braid instead of fluoro on. And things like that, because I mean it was just that sensitive a bite. I just don't feel like I'm like I wonder how many bites I probably missed because I thought it was grass or something like that. I mean, it was a good day, but it wasn't like I can't complain because I had over 90 inches, which is always a good day. But I mean, I just know that it wasn't like those days where like you just can't stop catching them.
Yeah.
One after another, like whatever that window is, and you just crush them. It's like no, like it was all day, and like I guess like it was for the first time ever. Like I was in a position where like when you get over 90 inches, and I'm sitting at 92 inches, my smallest fish is like 17 and 15, like 17 and a half inches. I don't know what to do at that point. I'm like, how do I fix this? You know what I mean? Because like I got big fish. Like how do you call a 17 and a half inch fish? I mean, eventually I did, but I mean, still, it's just like I was freaking out. I was like, how do I maintain this? Like, I mean,
that was the same way, right? I mean, once I caught that 20 and a quarter and it made my smallest, 17 and a quarter, I was in that weird situation where you could literally pull up like a 16 and a half inch fish, and I didn't even have to put it on the board because I knew it wasn't close. And I was like, man, this is such a weird spot. Like I've never put up 95 inches in a single day tournament, right? I've come close. I've put up low 90s, upper 80s, and done stuff, but 95 inches, I've never been in that situation, right? To say, like you were saying, how do you go find an 18-inch fish, right? Usually you're out having 16s and 17s looking for an 18 or 19, right? Not having 19s and 20s looking for an 18. So
I mean, I've had good days, but never on a like. Granted, this wasn't like a national whatever derby, but like there was a pretty big one, 75 people, and there was a lot of sticks in there. You know what I mean? Granted, I know Russ Snyder wasn't there and Cody Milton wasn't there, but it's like, I mean, we had a lot of good people. I've never fished that well in an event that whatever we'll say that big. You know what I mean? Like I've done well in like my local tournaments, and most of my local tournaments before this year they were all like 3 fish limits, which is it was just totally different than a 5 fish limit. So it's like I've never experienced like being in there with the big dogs, above 90 inches, like looking down and seeing like 70 other great anglers, some of them really, really good anglers. And I'm at the lead of the pack. I was at the lead.
Yeah.
The great thing about it, I was the lead of the pack all day. I was, first, second, or third all day. I didn't get pushed down to fourth until the last hour, whenever whoever that guy was that, that bumped me down. But, that last hour was terrifying. I don't like it.
Yeah. I'd much rather, to piggyback what you're saying, it was weird being the front runner and having people chase you because you're looking at the leaderboard different. Like, I'm not one to really follow the leaderboard a lot, but when I'm front running, I start getting nervous. Like, right. And so I was looking a little bit more often. I was actually glad when it turned off because then it was out of my control. But yeah, I'm so used to coming from behind, being that guy in 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, looking to break into the top 10, not the guy in second place trying to hold on, right? Because there's nothing you can do. You can't control what anyone else does afterwards, right?
But also holding on with a limit that's hard to call. That was like the because it's like I'm like you said, like most of the time I'm just trying to get a limit, and then fix a limit. But when you get a limit that's just so good, especially for that lake, it's just like, do I leave here? Like, and it starts affecting like your decision making process. You know what I mean? Like it took everything I had to just stay on that flat and accept what that flat was going to give me. I wanted to beat feet. Maybe I should go offshore. Maybe I should go try that cold ass creek again. Maybe whatever. Like just all these different things. It's just like, because you don't know what to do. Like how do you win a tournament? I don't know. I've never won a tournament that big. I've won one smaller tournament, local tournament, but I've never been like. It's just like it really started messing with my mind. I didn't like it. Like it was like the only time where like. When I got first, and I was in first place pretty early. I want to say like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I was sitting at first, and I'm like I didn't want to fish anymore. I just wanted the tournament to end. Like, I do the whole day.
Felt like the longest day.
Yeah, but when I was going, like, I was bouncing back from, first to second to third, and someone would come closer, I went back to second again. I put a good lead between me. It's just like the whole day, I was like, I'm not having fun right now. Like, I really just want this shit to end. Like, I mean, it's just like, it's just the weirdest feeling. Like, I don't know how to explain. Like, usually, when you know you suck, it's like, whatever, I'm just going out here and have a good time. When you don't suck today and you're on fire, it's like, I just wanted to end. I want it to end. I don't care if I'm second, whatever. I just don't want this pressure anymore. It was horrible. I don't know how those guys do it. I mean, I guess I got to get used to it. But like me, I was just like, I don't want to fish anymore. I want the time to go off and the results be what the results are going to be. I mean, it was weird.
Yeah, when I hit, I think it hit noon. I was like, "Holy shit! I can't believe I got 2 more hours of this left."
Yeah,
like,
dude.
I was like, "You're gonna be kidding me!" Like, yeah, I totally get what you were talking about. I'm, just, I use the same as you. Like, I usually do well here locally. And we, our club is, 25, 30 guys maybe. Last year we were more 15 to 20. But I usually do well here. But it is, and I've had some marginal success, traveling a little bit, but um, to be up near the top and to be a quarter of an inch away from winning a big tournament, right? And you mentioned that Russ Snyder's isn't there, right? Siddiqui, like those guys aren't at this thing, but man, you look at the KBF standings. There are more guys in the Northeast that are up near the top of the rankings, right? And there's still so many guys up here that people have never heard of that can compete, right? I made a post the other day about Jack Tibbins, right? I mean, here's a guy that a lot of people up here in the Northeast know who that guy is. No one nationally does. And now he's, I think, tied for third in Angler of the Year, right? And, once these guys start putting them out.
The next event is at Candlewood, so who knows where that guy's going to be in a week or two.
Yeah, I mean, he lives in Connecticut, right? I don't know how often he fishes Candlewood. He fishes a small local trail through there, and I don't believe they ever fish Candlewood, but I do know he fishes bass boats events as a co-angler. So I got to think he's been on Candlewood more than once, right? Yeah. So I think he's got a legitimate chance, and I know he's got buddies up there with boats, so I'm sure they're out there on the boats pre-fishing, right, covering more water, trying to get a game plan together. I fully expect Tibbins to do well.
So, like, just talk about me and you, because me and you are kind of like, we're not top tier guys. At least I know I'm not a top tier guy. You know what I mean? But having what I would call a top tier performance, to me, like now the part is like, now was that on purpose? Was that just really good luck? It's like, so I'm sitting to my mind, like, because I'm getting ready to do Candlewood here the next week, and I'm like, don't go in there cocky because you did really good at Cayuga. So I'm sitting there trying to think, like, but the thing is, I look back on it, I did everything that as far as what I think I need to do to be successful. I'm like, okay, the water was cold here. Go find warmer water and go find some grass. You find the grass, your chances of finding fish. And so I did. I went there and I fished the shit out of it. And
Yeah.
I stayed there. I figured out what they wanted. I figured like, all right, they want me to retrieve it really, really slow. When I hit that grass, just almost start jigging and popping a little bit,
Yeah.
just to show there's some life. And then I started doing that, and then I figured out what color they wanted. I tried all the colors. They want blue for some reason. They want black and blue. And they love that jackhammer. And just things like that. I was like, no, you worked throughout. Like it
Right.
wasn't like it's just you like I would say like the well, no, either. I mean, whatever. Like I worked through some problems and I figured out how to find it, and other people didn't. So it's like there was some skill in this. This wasn't all luck. I mean, like, and I was consistently catching them in that area. So it tells you that like I've gotten better. I'm not saying
Yeah.
to be cocky and think I'm going to go there and just start laying hammer, like
Yeah.
but still, it's like, but it's still, it's kind of, I don't know if I got a little bit more, like, feel like I got momentum or feel like like I've reached a certain level of like, oh, this is not like last year. Like, like
Right.
I'm doing things right. I'm doing things a little different. I've been crushing fish, before this tournament. I've been doing really, really good. Just fishing in general. Like, I mean, I've never cashed a check before. I've already cashed 2 this year. I'm just feeling good, and I hope this isn't just like I just fished KU on the best day, and I accidentally made a really good decision. It's weird when you really get into the sport, and you get super competitive about that, like, and you get used to getting your ass kicked all the time, and just like all of a sudden things turn around. You're like, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean that I got in the money at Cayuga, that I had a really strong limit at Cayuga? It's hard to know what to do with that kind of success.
Yeah, no, I agree. And, you know, I, I try to take it with confidence, right? I mean, it builds confidence, not necessarily cockiness going in. And looking back at even just the last 5 years, right, on where I was 5 years ago compared to where I am now, and I always like to think I'm improving every year. Um, this year I struggled down on day one down in at Lake Murray, but day two I kind of got back into my head, my right frame of mind. I found the water that I like to fish, and I think I finished 30th out of 100 and change, right? So still a good performance, even though I didn't make money, but it was a good bounce back, right? And so to be able to go into Cayuga and put together a day like this, it does give you confidence going in. Now, I'm not going in thinking that I'm going to win this thing, but I'm always confident that any place I go, I have a legitimate chance to win. Like, you know, but it's hard, right? I mean, when you're talking 75 to 100 people, there's only one guy that can win. So
Yeah.
even though I'm confident, I don't necessarily expect it, right? I mean, I
Right.
think that's different. And confidence compared to cockiness is also different, right? Anytime you do well, you have to take that confidence into where you're going. And Candlewood will be a completely different fishery. You're talking smallmouth over largemouth. You're talking a huge body of water. Not that Cayuga isn't, but I mean, it's much bigger than Cayuga. It's laid out differently.
Yeah.
There's going to be a bass boat tournament the same time we're on there. I mean, there's just a lot of different variables, heading into Candlewood. So, I'm kind of anxious to get up there and do some pre-fishing and kind of hopefully find something, right? Like what we both found up in Cayuga to be able to build on.
Right. Well, since like we've already talked a lot about Cayuga, but going into Candlewood, so I just decided to do it like last week. I'm gonna do Candlewood. Um, there's a lot of people. Obviously, I don't know how many people are gonna show up. I think we're almost at the 40, and we still got like another week and a half to go. Like, how does one go about figuring out what to do with that lake? Because I mean, I've only found 2 launches. I know we opened up the lake next to it. Like what if, I don't know. It seems like it's kind of hard to prepare for that I'm kind of struggling with. Has other people said anything about that? Like, have you thought about that at all? Like, some of the things we can do to kind of like, because I'm worried about like the logistics of a lot of things. I'm worried about clogging up the boat ramps, being that asshole.
Right.
Like all these different things that go into fishing. I'm worried about like some parts of like the safety part of it. Like
Yeah.
I talked to one person like, oh yeah, it's like a washing machine in there. I'm like, well shit. And then I don't know much about the other lake, but I know it's not a bad lake either. I think it's the second biggest in
Right.
Connecticut.
Yep.
So what are some of the things that you're like, you're kind of putting this together? Like some of the things you think about, like, if anyone's listening and who's kind of having a hard time, kind of like, it's not the fishing part that I'm worried about. It's like everything else that's going into this is kind of like making me a little nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I take busy areas like even to go with Cayuga, right? We found out last minute that there was going to be a bass boat tournament up there, right? The director of that event reached out to Ken and myself, and we kind of asked us if we'd put it off a day. We said we wouldn't, but we also put word out there. Hey, listen, there is going to be a boat tournament. Be courteous at the launches, right? They've got a permit to be here just like we do, right? Don't take up all the parking spots. Understand that they got boats with trailers, every one of them. So leave those boat trailers for them. Work with them. Be courteous at the launch, right? Just all that stuff. And if things go smoothly at the launch, then they'll be much more respectful out on the water, right?
Right.
But if you go in there thinking, we own the launch and get out of here, right? We're fishing this big tournament, and you bass boat guy, right? If you go in with that type of attitude, then they're gonna have that attitude when it gets on the water.
Yeah.
As far as like breaking down water though on something like that, I usually I like fishing where not a whole lot of people are.
Yeah.
I prefer going, making a long run first thing in the morning, as opposed to a lot of guys like to try to find fish early and build momentum. I like getting away from people. So, it's not unheard of for me to launch somewhere and pedal, half an hour to 45 minutes to get to a spot just so I can be myself. And so I like to try to break down those big bodies water into different regions almost, and kind of say, all right, I think I want to fish around here. Is there any side of the road launches I can find? Is there anything out here? How long is it going to take me to get there? Right. Start checking Navionics, look at Google Earth, zoom in, see if I can find, grass, rocks, anything. And, I try to approach it that way. If somebody, you know, a lot of guys I used like, and myself included, I used to look at a big body of water going, man, how do you break that down? Well, you don't need to break the whole thing down. Find
Right.
an area, focus on an area, then you break down that one area into smaller parts and just go fish that small part. You're not going to go to Candlewood and pound the bank the whole way around Lake Candlewood. Like,
Yeah.
it's not going to work. Go find a smaller area to go camp out in for the day.
Yeah. No, I agree. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I just like how everything's breaking down this year with the with the elite kayak fishing series, trail series. I like some of the things that KBF is doing up here. We got 2 events for Hobie coming up here. Like it's already shaping out to be like a really really fun year for
Yeah.
me. And I'm not doing much traveling, which I'm kind of glad, because I didn't see this fuel thing going the way it's going right
Yeah.
now. So I'm like, well, dang, like this makes fishing really easy for this season, because I'm gonna stay my punk ass right here in the Northeast.
Yeah. And that was part of the whole thing with this, the elite kayak fishing, right? And, I can't give enough credit to Ken and Adam Rourke, and behind the scenes, we got another guy, Matt Charette, who kind of just sticks to the back end of things and doesn't really like being in the, I don't want to say doesn't like being in the limelight, but he's just perfectly fine kind of doing his thing in the back. Like he's the guy that does all our promotions and helps with that. But when we all sit down and we all talk, I mean, that's what we wanted. Is we wanted to bring some of that higher level fishing, right? The more competition to just a regional level. So for those guys that either can't or don't want to travel 14 hours to get down to Lake Murray, they can travel like a day trip. Like New York is the furthest event away from me. It took me 8 hours to get there, right? Is it a long drive? Yeah, it was a little bit of a long drive, but it's half a day, right?
Yeah.
Somebody could take a Friday off from work, leave after work Thursday, be there at midnight. You take one day off, you pre-fish Friday, you fish your tournament Saturday, you go home, you're home by Sunday, and then you still got a day with the family, and that's kind of what we wanted to bring to the region, and we've put a lot of work into what we're doing, and I can't tell you how all three of us, how much it made all three of us feel when to have 75 guys at that first event, and to feel like that all that work that we put in was worth it. And
Yeah.
we didn't do it for us, right? We did it because there are so many anglers up here that can't travel, that still want that competition, and to be able to stay local and pay $125 for an event and an opportunity to win
Catch some
2,600
good,
bucks or
yeah, catch a good
3,000. And yeah, and as you can know, I mean, a fourth place finish to take home $1,000. I mean, that's some good money for a fourth
yeah.
place finish, right? And even seventh place, you're getting almost 5 times your money,
Yeah.
to finish seventh. And we have a good payout structure, and I think the competition and the more people get out there and talk about it, the more people that'll come out, and the more traction we'll get. And we're not closing the door on expanding next year and adding some more states, right? We just really wanted to keep it small this year, just so we can build the trail and establish. And then if we expand into Maryland or go to Pennsylvania. I mean, we're in Pennsylvania. It was really supposed to be New Jersey, but go into Pennsylvania and maybe include like Ohio. We decide to do something like that. If there's interest from those guys,
Right.
to compete on something like that later, then we add more events and we do that.
Yeah. No, I love it. I like, like one of the things that bothered me, like when I really got into it, like it's like my 4th year going into it, but like feeling like I was obligated, to go travel to all those places, and like it's just not feasible. Like you can get away with it one season, but the next season you're not going to be able. It's just like
Right.
and it became like a nuisance. I mean, if you're not winning, you're not cashing checks. I mean that money's coming out of your pocket. Completely.
Yeah.
Like winning this tournament, it helped me out tremendously with my next few trades. It's paying for my Hobie event. It's paying for my next, elite kayak fishing, things like that. It's a good payout. But it's, traveling to Lake Anna or the Santa Cooper or, it's like I can't do it. I can do maybe one, maybe 2 trips a year, big trips a year. But that's it. Like until I get on some kind of level where, obviously I'm very successful at this, and I have people who are paying for me to go do these tournaments. It's just like you can't be, Christine Fisher unless you're Christine Fisher. You can't be Russ Snyder unless you're Russ Snyder. Like you have to really look at your life and like what's going on and what you're really capable of. And to me, the sport's not something you really want to take. I mean, everyone's like, well, you never know. Like, I don't know. I don't want to keep taking chances because for one, eventually it takes like you don't enjoy it as much.
Right.
Because you're so worried about like, well, how am I going to pay for the next tournament? Where's that, like, what am I going to have to sacrifice for that? So I know I like the idea of building a strong regional stuff. I think they're doing it in the Midwest with the All-American Bash or whatever that Joshua Booth and those guys are doing over there. I think it's better for the sport to have like a regional and a good regional competition that's going to bring in those sticks. And just, I don't know, I just feel like you shouldn't feel obligated to go travel all the way across the country. People can travel to us if they want to, if they want to fish with us. That's kind of like I kind of got a bad attitude like last year when when COVID happened. It's just like, nah, dude, I don't want to go down there and fish with you guys. You guys come fish with me. I got good. Why do I want to leave up here to go travel 15 hours to go fish with you when you don't want to travel 15 hours to come fish with me? Like my legs are just as good as yours. Your little cute river smallmouth, they're adorable. Come catch one of our smallmouths out of Erie or Ontario or the St. Like like it's just, I don't know, you get cocky with your fisheries up here,
Yeah, and that was part of that whole no respect movement that we had last year, right? Is I'm very thankful for AJ for bringing Hobie events up here, right? I've been trying to get bass events up here for a long time, and they would always, those guys, would always come with the argument, well, you guys got to travel and show support down here if we're going to come up there. And I was like, well, why shouldn't it be the other way? Why shouldn't you be able to tell the guys in Tennessee, hey, if you want to have events in Tennessee, you got to go up to New York and support the Hobie events up there, right? It shouldn't always be about the Northeast traveling down south. It should be about those guys down south coming up here. That works both ways. And so we did have a chip on our shoulder for a while, right? But it took a while, right? With talking to AJ and letting him know that the guys up here, we will support big events like this, right? And I know Bass wanted to have an event up here, and this year it was actually in the plans to do it, but due to the reschedule of that championship event, it kind of hurt that coming up here. But I know they want to come up here, right? And but when this whole thing started with EKF, it was based on, well, we were tired of kind of waiting for that to happen, so we're going to go make it happen ourselves, right? And it was necessary, right? It was needed up here, and to be honest with you, I love the regional aspect of it more. I mean, it's easier on my family life, right? I got a wife and a kid that surprisingly still want to hang out with me. I don't know why, but they do. And my kid's, he'll be 17 this year, and he's doesn't have a whole lot longer at home when he's going to be here before he's out on his own and doesn't want to hang out with us. So to burn 5 days of vacation to get down to fish Lake Murray is hard, right? That's a tough decision to take a week off and go to Louisiana to fish the national championship, right? That's a tough decision. So if we can get that same type of competition up here in the Northeast without having to burn all that vacation, so I can go to those bigger events, I can go to the national championship, then that's what we needed to do, and we needed to bring that up here. And for us to go to Cayuga and to have the numbers right, I mean, I think everybody in the top 10 was over 90 inches, right? It just shows that we do have the quality fisheries like what they have down south, right? We made 110 pounders
too. It's only gonna get bigger because
absolutely.
You know how many people in New York, because like we got a pretty big clubs up here. New York KBF, our first event we had over 60 something people, and I was a little upset when they didn't all sign up for to do this. But now they know, because like now it's like, oh well, shit, Josh Smith just won $1,000 because we didn't want to go. It's only gonna get bigger because now it's like, if that scrub can win $1,000, why can't I win $1,000? So I know that, but I don't think they realize like how big the payout. They get so used to these small local payouts. They don't. I mean, like, when seventh place walks away with like a few $100s, which is almost the equivalent of your first place. Like
Right.
this is tournament fishing. This is like that next level. Like you guys had a good, like, look, I love the local scene, but we can win more money and not have to travel as far.
Right.
Here's your opportunity. So I think it's going to get bigger.
Yeah, and that's
You know,
the thing with like the Mesalonsky event, right? We, Snow Pond, the place where we're having the host for that event, man, they love having us there, right? We had the KBF event there last year. We'll have this event here this year. I mean, talk about a host that works with us, right? They have everything on campus. They have dorm rooms for $25 a night. Good luck finding a hotel anywhere else, or splitting a cabin or doing anything for $25 a night, right? You can
yeah,
get a cabin. I think our cabin, I think we got a 4-bedroom cabin. I can't remember the total cost, but it wasn't even, I don't know. I can't even remember what it was, but I think the average price on a cabin is like $35 per person if you have it break it up by bedroom or something like that, right? And they're having a cookout the night before, where we can have like burgers and chicken and potato. They're charging like $10 a head.
nice.
They have a huge auditorium there that they're gonna set up with a sound system, and so we can have this outdoor amphitheater for the awards. They're opening up their whole campus for us to launch from. Like, it, it's so cheap to come and fish this event. Like,
I
you
gotta
pay your
go up there now.
120.
Like I wasn't gonna do it, but I think I might. I think it might be one of those things where I paid just to go have a good time, and because I know
Yeah,
I won't be able to go there and pre-fish, and I'm like, well, shit. Now I want to go up there and have fun.
it's all smallie fishing, man. Like, the whole lake is smallmouth. There's some largemouth in the southern end. There's a lot of huge pike in that place. I mean, huge pike. But it's we should be around spawn for smallies. If not, if the smallies are off, then the largemouth will be spawning. Um, but I mean, it's a great fishery, man. We've had last year's event. I think Ken Wood won. I think he put up somewhere around 90 inches. Um,
Nice.
you know, and we had an event there like 3 years ago, a smaller KBF event, before it kind of got the size that it was, and we put up, I don't know, I think I finished like third, and I had like, I don't know, 85, 86 inches of smallmouth. So, and there are some big 5+ pound smallmouth in that place. So, it's a great place to host it. Winnipesaukee is the same thing, and you know. I'm going to butcher this. I call it the wrong thing every time, but Wallen Pawpack, I think it's called,
Yeah, yeah,
something like
yeah, yeah.
that. Um, that's supposed to be a great fishery as well. I know people who have fished it. So, we got good fisheries up this way, and we can keep it cheap for people. So,
All right, well, we're at the thing up soon, but we got something big we got to talk about. Um, there's a storm brewing. There's something coming around. I didn't see it coming, and now it's happening. And every time I look at my Facebook feed or Instagram feed, I'm in shock. But you have challenged, you know, one of the best anglers, not just in the Northeast but the country. I don't know what you challenge him to, but supposedly you guys are going to be battling it out. And the meme war, I don't know what you guys. I guess June 5th, you guys are really going to throw down. But like this meme battle you guys got going on is brutal and hilarious.
so I did the very first one, and I haven't done any since. But I signed up to the kayak bass bracket tour event, right? So the nationwide bracket, the qualifier, right? And I was like, well, it's going to be the first event, the 5th and 6th weekend. That's the weekend of Mesalonsky. Hopefully, I'll get drawn Sunday though, so I can go fish one of my good holes. And then I look up and I get matched up against Brundle, right off the bat. So we get our first match of the season, headed up, and I'm not scared of him, man. A lot of people hear the names and they get scared, like, oh, I got to fish against Brundle, and I'm like, and Brundle's gonna fish against me, right? He's gonna beat me, right? I didn't see him show up at Cayuga. Didn't see him
Yeah,
throw up 95 inches, right? I've gone to Massachusetts. I fished the Massachusetts kayak bassin bracket. Before there was ever KBBT, MAKB had a bracket. I was a guy from Maine, went there. I ran through that bracket. I ended up taking home the money, right? So I've gone to Massachusetts and beaten the best of the best, but Brundle's never beaten me, heads up. So, he's got some work to do, right? And hopefully he doesn't get too scared, because he was supposed to come to Mesalonsky, and now that he's gonna face me, maybe he doesn't come and he's gonna fish a honey hole because he knows
but
he can't come here and beat me. But
get
we'll
out of the
see.
pond, Derek. Get out of the pond. It's
Yeah, those 60-acre farm ponds that sitting there holding fish. You could probably cast from one side to the other. Get out of that place. Come fish a lake, and let's see who comes out on top. But you know, I'm anxious to see who I face in the second round after I get past Brundle and qualify for the championship.
Well, right on, dude. Well, I appreciate you coming on, man. It was bound to happen. We wanted to do this before Cayuga. I'm actually glad we did it after Cayuga because it gave us something to talk about. Because we both, had phenomenal days. Like we both made a bet. I owe you beer, But I never thought that we would be like neck and neck,
Yeah,
battling it out for a 6-pack of beer. I thought at least one of us would absolutely crush the other one. But
yeah.
it was like shit. I think he owes me beer. Like, well, shit. I think I owe him beer. And then obviously I do owe you beer. So it was a good conversation.
Yeah, it was, man. And to be honest with you, I was more scared about having to buy you beer than I was anything else. I was like,
Oh,
man,
dude,
I can't buy that guy beer after all this.
I am the worst when it comes to winning. Like it's just like there's two things. You don't invite me to a wedding with an open bar, and you don't let me beat you in anything because I'm an
Yeah.
ass. So, but yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on. Is there anyone you want to thank that makes fishing easy for you? Let people know where they can follow you. Anything like that?
Yeah, of course. I got to thank the people that support me, right? First and foremost, Three Bells Outfitters. Um, Man, I've been, with them for God, I think going on 4.5, 5 years now, working with them, and they support me like nobody else. Stormy with Dakota Lithium, same way. Um, Jackson Kayak, Yak Attack. I gotta, of course, thank my wife, my kid. Um, Man, they put up with a lot with me out traveling and even just working for KBF, running the two trails. And once again, I want to thank Kenwood, Adam Rourke, Matt Charette. We don't always agree. We don't always, we're not always happy with one another when we're talking about putting this EKF thing together, but we do it because we want to put out what we believe is the best product to the people out there. So, we don't take offense to anything we do with each other. If we get a little heated, we take a step back, but, we're all brothers at the end of the day, just trying to put out a great product for everybody. And we just want this whole thing to be successful for everybody out there.
Well, cool, man. It's good talking to you. I'll definitely see you at Candlewood. But yeah, have a good night, man, and I'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, man. Good talking to you.